Hello and welcome to this video about how to upload your game to itch.io. We were going to talk about this in class, but weren't able to, so we're going to talk about it now in this video. The goal is for you to be able to publish what you created in class this semester so that others can play it. To get ready for this video, I did a few things that you'll have to do on your own. The first is I created an account on itch.io, and I've now gone to the website and I am logged in, as you can see up here. The other thing I've done is I've downloaded my game so I can edit it. We're going to make a couple of changes to make sure that it works smoothly on this publishing platform. So let's get started. The first thing I did was I went and I took the game that I wanted to publish and changed its name from, it used to be called archer.html, and I changed it to index.html. Index.html is the default entry point for a browser-based application. So if you want this to work on itch.io, you've got to make sure that the HTML file you want it to run is named index.html. The next thing I did was I went into my code and made sure that my camera's size matched the aspect ratio that itch.io defaults to. And that default is 640 by 360. If I do this, I'm not going to have any aspect ratios appearing from my own game when I'm on itch.io. The last thing I did was I created a zip file of my game because itch.io only lets you upload zip files. So in order to do this, I opened up these files in File Explorer. You can use Finder if you're on a Mac. And then I sent it to a zip folder. Mac has an equivalent right mouse option when you select files. So now that I have a account and a zip file, I can go through and publish my game. So I'm going to come up here in itch.io. I'm going to say upload a new project. It brings me to a pretty straightforward form. It needs a title. I'm going to call this CS2510 game. It will by default give it a URL. I can give it a description if I'd like. The game that I made in class. I can choose to classify my game any way that I want. Okay. The kind of project I want is going to be something that runs in the browser. So I'm going to come over here and say it's just going to be HTML. Okay. There are lots of options for release status because this is something brand new. I'm going to put it down into prototype, which means it's not going to be released publicly until I tell it to do that. So right now I'm just going to keep private as a prototype. I'm going to say no payments because I don't want to bother setting up my payment information. And here's where I get to upload my zip file. So I'm going to click on upload files. Okay, since I've recently done this, by default, it takes me to the right spot, but you can navigate there and say, hey, here's my index file. And then I need to tell itch.io what to do with this zip file. It's a little tricky because you may go to the drop down here and try and pick what to do, but the correct thing to do is just click on the next option, which gets rid of those other options, which just says, hey, this is going to be run in the browser. Okay. We can come in here and change some options. It tells you the default size. I'm not going to change any of these because I already set up my camera to match 640 by 360. It's not mobile friendly. I can turn on automatically start on page load. Unity games have a problem, but since we didn't make it in Unity, I can use that. I'm not going to bother with full screen button. It by default turns off scroll bars. We talked about this really early on in the semester, how scroll bars can cause a problem. We added some CSS to get rid of scroll bars, but this just doubles down on that. Shared array buffer support is something in OpenGL, which is out of scope for this class. Details, I can add any kinds of details or genre that I want. Okay. One thing you need now is an AI generation disclosure. I did not use any generative AI at all in the creation of this project, so I'm okay putting no. I'm not going to put it on any other app stores. I don't need to worry about changing the noun used with my name, and I'm not going to have any comments or discussion boards. So with all that, I can hit save and view page, and the next thing we know, it's going to have my game up and running. This is the game where we demonstrated wall sliding. Here I am moving around, and when I hit the walls, I slide. obviously most of the games we saw in this semester were far better than this example one. So if you like what happens after you upload it, go through and change some other settings and release to the world and share it with your friends. Thank you very much.